Time Force has a problem, and it's in the name. Time Force. For a show that's about time travel, it does nothing with it. Now, it doesn't completely ignore it, but it doesn't use it to its advantage to tell some really cool stories. Once the show leaves the year 3000, it just becomes a standard PR show. Every other season uses its theme. Imagine if Turbo never used cars for its Zords. Time travel is one of my favorite plot devices. It opens you up to a different way to play out a story. By going back to the year 2001, you're going to affect the year 3000. With exception to the season finale, the Raime episode, The Legend of the Clock Tower, and Wes's father's death, they don't really use the subject. Even the episode that does bring it up, where Katie's homesick and is worrying about her family, they don't discuss any of the possible issues, like them being from the future could be erased from existence just by being in 2001. It's never even a plan for Rancic, like going after the Ranger's ancestors. Even Eric, the story focuses on him gaining the suit, but they never worry about the quantum powers being used in 2001. I'm not expecting PR to go see the Romans. In fact, Time Force actually did feature a few more time travel ideas than what Time Ranger did, but it's still disappointing, especially when PR hasn't had a great track record with time travel. We all know the Alien Rangers, but the way they ignored that Jan and the others could be erased from history, it was like that wasn't possible. I would have been cool with that if they dedicated an episode explaining the mechanics of Time Force. And don't use the excuse of this being a kid show, it would be too complicated to talk about. I saw Back to the Future when I was 9. Gargoyles had some good time travel episodes, but the biggest example would be from Beast Wars. Its best cliffhanger was when Megatron figured out they were on Earth and him almost killing Optimus Prime.
You no longer exist!
I was pissed. Time Force never had anything equal to that. So for rewrites, I will lay out a few ideas that TF could do. I always wanted to explain why the Rangers didn't care about being erased from time, and there was an easy way to do that. Use the DNA lock system from the Morphers. The Morphing Grid has done a lot of things for the show. When someone becomes a Time Force officer and they link themselves to a Morpher, not only does it act as a security measure, but it also connects the Rangers to the grid. So if time is altered in any way, history, memories, whatever, they're protected. We know the grid is a field around a planet that anyone with the knowledge could tap into, storing all kinds of things from suits, weapons, and people. I also saw it as a way to connect things out of time. I mean, the suits don't seem to age. And it works to give Time Force something no other season could do. The episode around this idea could feature Rancic attempting to kill off Jen's ancestor. It would still allow stakes. It stops Jen and the other Rangers from being erased, but you have to stop Rancic because Jen's family line will still be lost. History would change, and you don't want that. Other ideas. If a chronomorpher is badly damaged in other PR seasons, you lose access to your powers. But with theirs, you get unstuck in time. Say this is a Trip episode. His morpher was damaged, he would jump around certain points in time between 2001 and 3000. It would be a way to let us see the year 3000 again, allowing them to go around the restrictions and not being able to go back home. One of the things I wanted answers for, the Rangers came to 2001 on their yellow ship, which got blown up. But Rancic got to 2001 by using some sort of device which still is inside the prison. We assume it was a one-way trip, but they could have had an episode where Frax was trying to figure a way to repower the device. I'd make it a paradox episode. Frax has the device connected to a nuclear power plant, seeing if he could get it to run off that. But between the unstable power source and radiation, it causes problems with the machine. The Time Force team detects the machine, they go after it. Frax attempts to use it. This is where Trip fights Frax. The battle inadvertently triggers the device, sending them back to the pilot. Trip now has to stop Frax from altering the events that took place, restoring the normal flow of time, getting back to the present, and destroying the time machine device without the past Time Force team seeing him. There could also be an episode stuck in a time loop. Something happens with Lucas and Circuit. In the episode, Rancic is able to figure out the clock tower is the Rangers' hidden base. Ludo followed Circuit, pull a turbo. A big fight happens around the clock tower where Wes calls the Stratocycle. Rancic attempts to shoot Wes out of the sky. When Lucas tries to stop his attack, it strikes the time portal, causing a massive explosion, resetting time by 1 hour. Lucas and Circuit start to remember each loop because Circuit was the one who calls for the portals, and Circuit also called Lucas, warning him that Rancic was about to fire on Wes. So they slowly put things together. It's stupid that Turbo had a better time travel episode than the season that's all about time. Which brings me to the most obvious idea you would come up with. Instead of the Lightspeed Time Force team up that we got, which was pretty generic, it should have been something big, something that uses time travel and was still possible at the time of the season. It wouldn't have been too expensive either. Take the same idea from the actual episode, Viper escaped, but this time, the jewel that she was using, combine that with year 3000 tech, is able to open up a time portal. Rancic, Nadira, a monster, and Frax enter, with the Lightspeed and Time Force teams following after them. But because they entered at different moments, Rancic arrived an hour earlier, so they weren't there. Wes and the others confused at what happened, but they could see they're in a different place. It doesn't look like Silver Hills. So Jen contacts Circuit asking him where they ended up, and he tells them, you traveled back in time, and he eventually pinpoints the date, August 21st, 1993. Wes asks, 8 years ago? What happened 8 years ago? Trip is the first to realize he doesn't waste time calling for the time jet. Everyone gets on the best they can with 10 Rangers and head off to the desert, where Trip tells Wes this is the week before Rita came to Earth. So Wes thinks Rancic is going to try to team up with Rita, but Carter cuts him off. He guesses what Trip figured out. No, it's not that. We hard cut the Frax using some sort of device that's beeping. The pings get louder till everyone stops walking and the camera pans over and looks up, revealing the command center. This wouldn't be difficult to do. Time Force is still being filmed in LA, and if they kept the command center exterior model, they can just reuse it. For the interior, they could cheat and recycle stock footage from MMPR. All they would have to do is bring back Bob Manahan, or if they wanted to be accurate, David Fielding with Richard Horvitz to record new dialogue. Then they could film at the real location like they did with Turbo's finale and just use Alpha's suit. Alpha gets alerted of people being outside. He's really the only one who can do anything, so he teleports out. Meeting Rancic and the others, he has no idea who they are, basically greets them. Nadira insults Alpha, followed by Rancic calling for Cyclobots. Rancic starts attacking. Alpha is hit first, being thrown down. Everyone else is shooting at the building, but before Alpha is killed, Carter fires at Rancic, while Wes time strikes Frax. This causes him to drop the device they were using to time travel. As the fight breaks out, the two teams are trying to get Rancic and the others away from the command center. Over the comms, you hear Zordon's voice trying to get Alpha's attention. He wakes up with his "ay ay ay" line. Zordon, what is happening? It seems we have help. Alpha gets off the floor. Power Rangers? Are they from another planet? Zordon replies that he doesn't know. He doesn't recognize the suits or powers, but Cyclobots see Alpha standing and attempt to attack him. But Katie comes in and covers him. She tells Alpha to leave, get to safety. While he's avoiding Cyclobots, he stumbles on Frax's device, picking it up and teleporting it away. Rancic, getting pissed off, orders the monster to destroy the building at all costs. So he pulls his DNA badge, getting ready to stomp on the command center when Jen calls the Time Shadow. Flies in and knocks the monster away, followed by the Cyclone attack and Mode Red. The TF team deals with the monster while the Lightspeed team defends the center. Back in 2001, Circuit contacts Eric, telling him what's happened to the team. So he goes off where they open the time portal. He meets Vipra guarding the portal. Eric's not in a good position. He's fighting alone against the Dunstan Cyclobots, Vipra, and the monster from the GoGo 5 Time Ranger team up. It looks like Eric is about to be killed when Ryan comes in. Looks like you need a hand. But Eric and Ryan get no time to talk as Vipra resumes attacking. Ryan demands what happened to Dana and the others. She laughs. Rancic is taking care of them as we speak. Cutting back to the Megazord fight, the Shadow Force is almost done dealing with the monster. The Cyclobots are all destroyed. All that remains is Rancic, Nadira, and Frax. Frax tells Rancic that it would be best to retreat. We can't fight 10 Rangers without reinforcements. So all of them teleport away back to the portal, re-entering it. On the other side, they emerge and shoot Viper's crystal, destroying it, which starts to trigger the time portal collapse. Rancic takes his failure out on Vipra, blowing her up, then turns his attention to Eric and Ryan. At least I can get rid of 2 Rangers. Not gonna happen, Ryan yells, calling for the rescue bird, setting up for the unilaser. Rancic grabs Viper's monster and throws him into the attack, but because of the extensive fighting he was doing throughout the episodes, his mutation issue flares up, forcing the 3 to leave. But the time portal has closed, with no known way to get the Rangers back. Back in 1993, the Shadow Force finally finishes off the monster, the Zords leave, and the TF team heads back to the command center. Circuit contacts the teams, telling them of the situation. So we're stuck here? Wes says. Kelsey making a joke of it not being a big deal. It's just 8 years, while Joel gets mad. I have a wife back at home waiting for me. Carter and Wes aren't sure what to do when Alpha teleports outside. We might be able to help you, Rangers. We understand your situation and have a possible way to get you back to your time, Zordon says. Everyone powers down, allowing Zordon and Alpha to see that they're human. Alpha pulls out Frax's device. This activator controls the time portal, but Trip reminds them that the portal's closed. It's useless. Zordon interjects that if he uses his own energy, that he might be able to reopen the portal for a limited time. Trip gets it. We all know Zordon is stuck in a time warp, so he could act as a bridge to reconnect the 2 points. Alpha uses the teleport system to bring everyone to the portal's location. When they arrive, Joel comments on how teleporting feels weird. Kelsey comments why we don't have this, while Alpha and Trip push buttons on the activator, preparing for the power transfer. Katie then asks Zordon if this is safe for him. He appreciates her concern, but he does warn everyone there is a risk, so everyone reluctantly continues. Zordon begins to send his power, recycling footage from Return of an Old Friend. We see the energy beam shoot out from the center, being sent to the activator. The portal flashes, trying to form. Energy is flowing all over the place. As it continues to drain Zordon, the entire Lightspeed team starts to fade in and out. Time is in flux, uncertain to where it will go. As Zordon struggles, looking like he might die, we go to a smoke-filled room in a void that has stars. In the center of the room is a single pedestal where 5 color beams shoot out, heading to the time portal. When the beams unite, the portal opens. Trip yells at everyone, "Go!" The portal can't be left on for long. Some of the Rangers make comments as they leave, but before Carter and Wes go, Zordon has his face come out of his chronomorpher. Zordon tells them that it's good to see Earth is still being protected in the future. Wes and Carter jump in, returning to 2001. Everyone greets Ryan and Eric, gives them a quick rundown. Ryan is happy to see everyone's okay, and they head off. We go back to Alpha one more time saying, "Farewell, Rangers," as the portal closes. With him teleporting back to the command center, the episode ends following the colored beams returning to the secret room where we see the 5 power morphers ready for when they're needed. Between Time Force and Time Ranger, why was this the only season that didn't use its theme? Lost Galaxy went out of its way to change Gingaman into a space show, far more difficult and expensive than what they would have to do in Time Force. You don't have to travel to Rome or the sinking of Titanic to showcase time travel. This is the type of question I want to ask the writers. Like, why did you not do anything like this? What's stupid, Sentai does eventually do a paradox story with Time Ranger, but through Gokaiger and Goseiger, and it was good. Where was this 15 years ago? We also forget about Circuit a lot. I always saw him as the unofficial 7th Ranger. It would have been nice to get some backstory on him. How does he work? Who was his designer? Is he a default designer or is he like the SPD dogs? So I try to include him more into my ideas. And he always hung out with Trip. I wanted all the Rangers to get a chance to do an episode with him, especially Eric. That's a free way to come up with plot. You got characters that haven't done anything together, that's your episode. Time Force is still really good, don't get me wrong, but these things would have gotten the show closer to that perfect score. I'm curious on what you think about my ideas, or if you have some of your own that could expand on mine or something more original. Leave a comment below, and if you have a suggestion or a topic you'd like me to cover, leave that too. Thanks for watching, I'll be back soon.